Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be here, and I would like, before I start, I would like to tell my gratitude to the Ukrainian Association of Students and Academics in Zurich for this platform to tell about current situation in Ukraine. And today's presentation is based on the result of the research which started at Kiev National Economic Universities, and a significant this research was carried out at TTH Zurich at Agriculture, Economic and Policy Group, led by Professor Robert Finger. And let me begin by saying that this topic and all topics about Ukraine is very personal to me, because me and my daughter had to leave Kiev on 25th of February 2022 under Russian missile attack. And now let's transition to the key points which will be covered today. And I would like to start my presentation actually with Ukraine profile before the 25th of February 2022. First, let me provide some background information about Ukraine. And in Ukraine, you'll discover the geographical center of Europe, situated in the town of Kharkiv. It's the Carpathy region. Additionally, Ukraine is the largest country in the Europe by its territory, and Ukrainian form distinctly European nation with European values. And before the full-scale invasion, Ukraine demonstrated significant progress in key sustainable development goals, including education, economic growth, and social equality. And challenges remained in achieving goals, focusing on environmental sustainability, responsible use of water sources, and efforts toward peace. Then allow me to present the current administrative structure of Ukraine. It is important because it is the result of decentralization reform. And from 2020, in Ukraine we have 1,470 local communities, which consist of 110 city communities, 433 town communities, and 627 rural communities. And as you can see on this slide, urban population dominates in Ukraine. However, the part of rural population is also significant, amounting to the 30.3%. It must be pointed out that this correlation is not evenly distributed with some of the regions where the rural population prevails. For example, the Carpathy region, they have more than 62% of rural population. Chernivtsi region, more than 56% people living in rural area. In this reason, I would like to tell next point about agriculture in Ukraine before the war. And Ukraine has the highest share of actively used agricultural land in Europe. And on the other hand, Ukrainian agricultural market is mainly dominated by agricultural holdings. That means that those holdings cultivate the biggest share of agricultural land in Ukraine. As a result, have the biggest share of income from agricultural activities. Agricultural holdings and large farms focus on exporting their products, while private households mainly concentrate on domestic market. And you can see that agricultural holdings specialize in highly profitable plant production, but small farms concentrate on more labor-intensive products. And a few words about export before the war. You could see on this slide that Ukraine is one of the world's top agricultural producers and exporters. The country plays a crucial role in supplying oilseed and grain onto the global market. And agriculture provides employment for near 14% of Ukrainians' population, and agricultural products are Ukraine's the most important export. Yeah, and now I would like to move for the main part of my presentation and current conditions of the war. On the 25th of February 2022, Russia started full-scale invasion, instantly attacking on the land 10 out of 24 regions of Ukraine. But it is a common misconception that Ukrainian people have been fighting for their freedom and independence for 637 days. Actually, the war in Ukraine started more than 9 years ago when Russia entered Donetsk and Lugansk region and created quasi-republic and occupied Crimea. As a result of full-scale Russian invasion, as of the 16th of November 2023, there are 17,748 civilians, injured civilians, and 9,701 civilians have been killed. And you could see that there are 113,000 more than 113,000 war crimes have been officially registered. There are only officially registered. However, these data do not include all these damages and all these crimes before the February 2022. A few words about the impact of Ukrainian economy for the war. The war has brought widespread economic and social challenges, causing significant job and income losses in private sector. And Ukrainian GDP shrank by more than 29% in 2022. And more than 7 million people are now pushed into poverty. And the impact of war avenue with greatest effects on women, children, and other people with some disabilities. Overall, there have been significant impact for the achieving sustainable development goals. Actually, we have now issues with poverty, with health system, with education, with energy, with industry, and health. Yeah, and let me move for the next part. It's about refugee, and the war in Ukraine provoked a wave of refugees to other countries, which is about 7.96 million people. And I would like to tell that active military actions provoke not only refugees to other countries, but internal refugees too. And these people mainly relocated from urban to rural areas, which are seen as the safest possible location in the country. And those people victim of military actions who as a rule have lost their job and property, search for possibility of employment and cheap accommodation in other regions of Ukraine where could be more safety. And private households and single little farms, as you know, Sadiba in Ukrainian, located in rural areas in regions of Ukraine remote from active military actions, have become such place for a lot of internal refugees. And current situation with Ukrainian refugee in Europe, now approximately 4.2 million Ukrainians have temporary protection in Europe, and the leading EU countries providing temporary protection for Ukrainian citizens. It's Germany, Poland, and Czech. Yeah, and the next point of my presentation is the calculation and the calculation of the damages of the country, and actually for urban population and for rural population, how this impact was. And official data on total amount of destroyed objects around Ukraine are currently unavailable for calculation for the scientists in several reasons. First, the destruction of critical infrastructure objects represents sensitive data, which can be important for state security and during the war. So this information is not public. Yeah, and second, at the moment, Ukraine has a lot of different platforms and chatbots, and I present you the platform where citizens can register their damages or destroyed some damages or destroyed properties. However, the data selected are not public too. But it is possible to make a certain conclusion about the amount of destroyed objects on the basis of subsidiary data, such as the number of explosions reported in media. And this information collected by volunteers allows to make the amount of destroyed objects, and you can see on the slide the first number is explosions, the second is the number of air alarms which were announced, and the third is total number of hours during which air alarms continued in some regions of Ukraine. Totally, in this slide, you can see totally since February 24 to November 15, 2023, there were announced 28,905 alerts and media reports about 7,742 explosions. It's how it could be in 21st century. And actually, the next slide is some calculation, some public calculation from Kyiv School of Economy, regional distribution of amount destroyed damaged property. And in this slide, you could see that from the first period, June 2022, and the second period, it's September 2022, the amount of damages increase, and the regions which were destroyed the most, it's like Donetsk, Lugansk, Kharkiv region, and Kyiv region too. And we try to analyze international data about the destroyed objects, and we found the report, official report of the World Bank. And in this map, you can see the damages and losses resulting from Russian invasion, and this data as of February 24, 2023. And this map, you can see that Donetsk, Kharkiv, Luhansk, Zaporizhzhia, Kyiv, and Kherson Oblast have the biggest amount of damages. Yeah, and total damage across sector, you can see this slide, and the first part of the slide it's damages, and the second is total losses. And you can see if we tell about damages, the 38% of all damages it's housing. Then transport, then energy, then industry, and then agriculture. If you tell about losses, the first place will be for commerce and industry, the second for transport, 11% of all losses, and the energy 9%. And total calculation about needs for recovery from the report of the World Bank as of February 24, 2023, more than 400 billion US dollars, and which is 2.6 times as actual GDP of Ukraine in 2022. Yeah, and the next slide, current data, the latest data you could find, losses and damages as of June 2023, and you can see that the amount of damages increase. And a few next slides will be like sensitive content about the example of these damages and with the amount of destroyed objects in US dollars. Yeah, and the first, I would like to tell that the biggest part of all destroyed objects is property, people, houses, our apartments. Yeah, and it's more than 55 billion US dollars. Then the infrastructure objects, more than 36 billion US dollars. And you can see the example of this destroyed objects. Then I would like to show that the next huge part of destroyed objects and this amount of money of losses, it's for educational objects, it's more than $9.7 billion. And of course, culture, sport object, tourism area, it's everything is destroyed, and you can see on this slide some training session, yeah, in Kharkiv, in Bond gym, and yeah. The next slide tell us about health care system, and this is more than 2.8 billion US dollars, and administrative buildings $500 million, and this is huge. There are a lot of destroyed objects, and it is one of the first Kharkiv Oblast administration. Then I would like to tell about trade infrastructure, and because it's shopping malls, some city centers, yeah, and they are only civilian, and a lot of these objects were destroyed, and this calculation told that we need $2.6 billion for renovate, and agriculture needs $8.6 billion. And the last but not the least, with industry and energy sector, and every time some industry objects destroyed, and this example is from Chernomorsk port, yeah, and this grain corridor, and yeah. And energy sector in Ukraine, we remember the damages destroyed. A lot of objects were destroyed previous winter and previous autumn. Yeah. And on the next slide, you can see destruction in Europe cities after the Second World War. And in some Ukrainian cities, in this one, 2022, 2023. We could take Mariupol. Before February 2022, it had a population more than 420,000 people. But by June 2022, it dropped to nearly 150,000. But now we can't calculate because the city is occupied. Another example is Bakhmut, which had a population more than 72,000 of people before the war, but now this town is destroyed, completely destroyed, and with only around 500 people living here. Let's note that reconstruction of Europe after the Second World War, followed by a Marshall Plan, and Ukraine now require the implementation of recovery plan with the participation of international communities. And currently, under the conditions of active military actions on the territory of Ukraine, the country faces multiple impediments when securing its existing economic potential in agriculture, in business, and local communities in particular. In my opinion, for sustainable recovery of Ukraine, it is necessary to ensure effective, consistent interaction among all stakeholders, including authorities at all levels, international partners, local communities, and of course business. Actively utilizing existing institutional documents, we should implement the plan of economic recovery and develop a particular mechanism for its realization at the regional and local level too. And the future sustainable recovery of Ukraine and the development of all regions focusing on resilient and urban and rural communities relies on existing institutional documents. On the top of the slide, you can see that the majority of the documents, it's strategies and policies, and regulatory and administrative documents. These documents created in 2021 after the reform of decentralization, and they were so important and they covers a lot of questions for regional development. And understanding the vitality of the effective post-war economic recovery of Ukraine, Ukrainian government in close cooperation with international partners have been created a plan for future social and economic recovery of Ukraine. This plan called Plan of the National Council for Recovery of Ukraine from the War. This plan was presented in Switzerland in the conference Recovery of Ukraine in 2022. And the Ukraine recovery plan is a unique opportunity not only to compensate for the losses influenced by the war, but also to accelerate economic growth and improve the quality of life in Ukraine. This plan involves gradual integration of Ukraine into the EU and includes a set of key implementation directions outlined in the slide. Actually, the National Recovery Plan lays the groundwork for the development and implementation of regional local recovery plans and projects. And next step in implementing sustainable economic recovery in Ukraine involves the development and implementation of comprehensive recovery programs at the regional and local levels. These programs should encompass special and social and economic priorities along with a set of measures to ensure the recovery of territories and communities affected by hostilities. And it's important to note that directions of the recovery program include urgent reconstruction of damages. Then the second is compensation for minor and for major repairs, and comprehensive post-war reconstruction. Follow the principle, and this principle is build it even better. Yeah, and I would like to tell that without the creation this plan for the regional level for Oblast, we can't create this comprehensive recovery plan for the local level. And now some regions started creating this plan, and they introduced a lot of activities for this, and some organizations, some international initiatives supported this. For example, USAID Dobre and ULEAD have already started support local communities to create the recovery program. And I would like to tell one example of Kyiv Oblast. Actually, Kyiv region, being one of the first among many other regions, has already approved its regional comprehensive recovery plan, and it was in October 17, 2023. Then I'd like to tell a few words about Kyiv region, where it's located. The total area of Kyiv region is over 28,000 square kilometers, which is 4.66 of the country total area. And as of December 2022, 1.8 million people lived in Kyiv region. And actually, Kyiv region was one of the main targets of Russian invasion since the first days of full-scale invasion. And on the left of this slide, you can see the location of Kyiv region, but on the right, you can see local communities, and these communities actually mainly rural, hit by military actions from the February 24 until April, the 3rd of April 2022. And in February and March 2022, Kyiv region was massively attacked by Russian troops, and 15 local communities in Vyshgorod, Bucha, and Brovary districts were under occupation, and which is 270 towns and villages in Kyiv region. During the hostilities, as a result of shelling, air raids, missile attacks, 46 out of 69 existing local communities received multiple damages, and as a result, more than 65% of the territory of Kyiv region were destroyed. And critical damages were registered in Bucha, Irpin, Gostomel, Borodyanka, Makariv, Dmitriev, and a lot of other towns and villages. And on this slide, you can see the amount of these damages in Kyiv region. You can see most damage is scheduled to private houses and residential buildings. Among massively damaged objects are also education infrastructure, healthcare objects, and critical infrastructure objects. And moreover, 705 business entities in this region were damaged, and 127 businesses were destroyed completely. And this slide, you can see that the black is the total damages, and red, these damages can't be reconstructed. But after the occupation, the biggest everyday challenge facing Kiev region are systematic missile and drone attacks, electricity cuts, irregular water and heat supply, and in spite social, economic security and everyday issues, the region is slowly recovering, and as of the 19th of June 2023, 686 objects were built. And here you can see this example. One of successful case is the construction of Bucha Central Street. And I would like to move for the communities, and that every Ukrainian citizen have a dream to have communities where they could live, and these communities must be resilient. And what we understand, what this resilience for our communities, and our local communities must be involved, actively engaged in sustainable institutions. They must be well-to-do, and they must be inclusive, they must be transparent, and they must be integrated. And this is aspiration in future where our communities are actively involved economically, they are successful, they inclusive, transparent, and well integrated during Ukrainian economic recovery. But how we could achieve this, and what we need to do to have resilient rural and urban communities. We could use a lot of ways, and I would like to present one of the important result of the development, and one of the result of this progress for recovery process. Because our local community has a lot of issues, and they can't communicate and with the donors. They have lack of coordination with these recovery projects. They don't know, and they don't have clear understanding of this methodology process. For how projects selected for funding, and a lot of different things. And in Ukraine, our ministries start thinking how they could support local communities, because well-known system in Ukraine, GM, but for recovery we need other system, and this system is called DREAM, Digital Restoration Ecosystem for Accountable Management, and this is like one window for all process for recovery of local communities, for regions, and for all country. And this is a unique digital platform for a construction project for effective implementation of this projects. And currently, ecosystem DREAM is being implemented, but like experimental projects, and they need to find some mistakes and how to improve this system. But actually now we could see the first result of this system, and how they could support local communities. We tell that with these systems, we don't need any mapping, and everything will be in this system. This system fixed losses and calculating all needs for recovery, planning and public heating, project development. It's so important for local communities, all this process for project development. And data bank of projects. It's important for donors and for governmental institutions to understand how many projects need to be developed. Financial support, all things about the amount of money and the amount of money which communities needs and which donors could offer, and implementation of the project, and of course the reporting of the project. We need to understand how many projects were successful, which projects were less successful. And the next slide is actually some directions of this system, and its different directions from education, healthcare, social protection, public administration, agriculture, financial sector, energy sector, and a lot of different things. And the DREAM ecosystem includes different models, and every model it's like unique opportunity. And I would like to tell that one of this model, gap, supported by Switzerland, and this model focuses on digitalizing public services, but in local communities for local level. And in this DREAM system includes investment management profile, like the profile of local community, like LinkedIn, but for local communities, where we can find all information about this community, about their needs, about their projects. Another part of this system is a detailed map of each construction project. Then will be a unified national project bank, like where will be all projects. And another part of this system, sector profile, presents sector profile needs. For example, when government decide which sector will be priorities or not. Then reconstruction financial partner profile, where all donors will have their profile. And of course, risk management systems, DREAM Academy, where local communities and other users could study how to work with this system, and analytics and open data. And this page you can see on the slide. And then I would like to tell like some successful story of reconstruction using DREAM. Actually, the first picture it's the same kindergarten, but after the occupation, and 75% of this kindergarten were destroyed in Irpin, and then with support of European country, this project was realized, and for this project, authorities in Irpin needed 4.9 million euros, and in August 2023, this kindergarten started working, and they rebuilt this kindergarten even better. It started to be inclusive, and 400 children could come. Yeah, but it's like one of the project, one of the successful project, and it could be like ideal story for other communities. Yeah, and for the end of my presentation, I would like to tell a few words about entrepreneurs, about business. That, of course, local community can't survive without business, and we need to think how we could support business and how entrepreneurs could provide their activities in different regions of Ukraine. In this map, you can see that. From one part of Ukraine where prolongate active military actions, Kharkiv, Donetsk, Zaporizhia and Kherson region, a lot of business has moved, and of course we can see that in Lviv region, in Kiev region, this business has relocated. And in Ukraine now we have more than 2 million individual entrepreneurs, and a lot of these entrepreneurs relocated, and some stories that huge business relocated from different parts of Ukraine under the hostilities, and they continue their activities and have successfully reestablished their business. And I would like to tell a few stories about not huge business, but about private entrepreneurs in Ukraine, and they moved from occupied territory under the hostilities, and they started their business in new places. And this is internally displaced people from the Donetsk region saved a cattle stock of 16 cows from their small farms, and with the help of volunteers, they relocate to the village of Serhiyivka in Poltava region and have already started producing soft and cream cheese. Another story, a migrant family from Kharkiv region relocated to an agritourism household in Bogota, Khmelnytsky region, and the host family and the refugee became friends and shared all their rural life duties, and later two families developed a small agritourism business. And the third story, another family with 3 children left occupied Berdyansk. It is a small town at Azov Sea in March 2022. Back home, the family had a successful private cheese business before the war, and evacuating the most valuable things with them, it was cheese making equipment. They found shelter in Khmelnytsky region, and in May 2022 launched their cheese making business in the countryside. Yeah. To conclude, I would like to tell that in Ukraine we can do a lot, and we are brave, we are strong, but we need this international support to win this war and to recover our country. Thank you for your attention. Slava Ukraini. Do you have any questions or suggestions I would like to?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Ela, for the excellent and insightful overview. And there are a lot of issues that you raised, and also a lot of speeches that you have done. And I have a question, like, where would you set the priorities, especially for the rural communities, in terms of development and rebuilding? where are the priorities for rural communities in Ukraine?
Thank you for the question. It's actually an issue now in Ukraine, yeah, because from my first slide, you saw that the rural communities is important for Ukraine, and actually the agriculture part of export and the agriculture is very important for Ukraine. But now people moved from rural communities and they can't find any solution to live because they don't have the conditions. And now we have this reconstruction period, we have this recovery plan, and of course we need to have in this plan a lot of things, how to create some things where people will continue live in rural area. Of course, it's educational, some schools, kindergartens. Of course, it's some activities, but of course, it's need to be some opportunities to survive and to have the salary, to have the job, and of course to survive actually from the missile attack from drones. Yeah, because now we understand that a huge part of Ukraine, actually agriculture part, Zaporizhia region, Kherson, can't survive, and people can't come back to this rural area. But yeah, now it's an issue, and I think the priority is to have these job places and to have the conditions for good living in rural area.
I have more of a technical question. In the beginning of your presentation, you distinguished between damages and losses in terms of the financial follower. I was wondering what the substantial differences between both was and why did you use these categories? Because I assume that you could subsume damages, infrastructure damages under the losses category as well, couldn't you?
Yeah, thank you. First, I used direct losses and indirect losses, but then in the report of World Bank, I found that they separate this like destroyed objects and losses. It's like indirect, yeah, and I decided to use this approach. Maybe it was, yeah.
Also, my thanks here for the impressive presentation and impactful presentation. What interests me is what you showed in the end. We resilient needs more than the reconstruction of infrastructure, which is essential. Yeah, I showed a number of losses of enterprises in the east, and the number of losses about compensated in the Kiev region road. So there must be many new small, very small enterprises that have been built in the rest of Ukraine and larger enterprises who have to close down because of the war and the damages. Is this correct? First, is this correct? And secondly, I presume that many of these 5 million refugees within the country lost their job as workers and got entrepreneurs and so forth. That's the second question. The third is, in what businesses are they? Are they all in agriculture or are they in also in industries that help rebuild the rural community? Ask them.
Yeah. Thank you for the question. Yeah, I will start from the third. Of course, Ukrainians try to survive, and when they move to other region, of course, they lost their job. And I told about example with agriculture because the main topic of my research. And for me, it's near this area, but Ukrainian people can survive in every conditions, and they could do business in different area. And we now find a huge amount of individual entrepreneurs in rural area and in little towns or cities. And as you can see in Lviv region, is a boom of different areas. But actually, it's not this agriculture area, because in agriculture, as I told, huge holdings. Yeah, it's a different area, IT, some beauty industry, and everything else. But yeah, and from the first two questions about sorry, resilient communities and how Ukrainians survive. We can see that a lot of businesses can't renovate their activities in new area, and maybe they do not have some conditions. They do not have this special conditions or something else. But now, in a lot of different regions of Ukraine, we have a lot of issues in Lviv region, in Chernobyl, in Volyn, because these communities do not understand how they could do and what they need to do with these businesses who moved to these regions, and yeah, and how they could organize. And now we have a lot of different programs in Ukraine, which are supported by different organizations, international organizations, who try to teach local communities, local authorities, how they need to make deal with businesses who relocated to their area.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome from my side. I also have a question regarding that entrepreneur reallocation slides. So we learned there are there were reallocations and also apparently new entrepreneurs. So my question is, do you have any insights as to like how permanent or this transition might be, or is it just a sort of temporary thing that is happening currently and might change toward what the previous state, or is that more of a more long-lasting transition, which then also has an impact on the post-war Ukraine economy as a whole?
Thank you for the question. To answer for this question, we should remember that the war started not now, not in February 2022, but the war started in 2014, and a lot of people from Donetsk and Luhansk region moved actually to Kiev region, moved actually to Irpin, to Bucha, and they thought that they will survive in these places, yeah, but actually no. And now, for me personally, and for a lot of people who are internally refugee in Ukraine, first they thought that they move for Lviv region or the Carpattia region for a few weeks, for a few months, for half a year. But then the war didn't stop, and more than 1 year and a half now, 637 days of the war, and of course they need to survive. They need to do their job. They need to have the salary to, and these businesses, a lot of these businesses relocated and launched their activities, and they have a strategic view to provide the activities here, but then when the war will finish, when Ukraine will win, they will decide what they will do. But actually, for example, with Donetsk and Lugansk region, anybody can tell where will be the safety place and where they could provide their business activities without some losses. Some questions?
We have a question from our remote. Some industrial sectors in Ukraine before the war were lagging behind the rest of the world on terms of innovation, infrastructure, and development. In your view, which sectors would benefit the most from recovery, and what sectors should be prioritized over others?
I actually think that prioritize a lot of sectors could be in priority position because you can see that in this plan for recovery we have 24 points and 24 different spheres. I think that all spheres is so necessary for recovery, for building, to create all these conditions for living people, to create new job places. But of course now, before Ukraine will win the war, and I think after this, military sector to produce some this things will be one of the most sector. But of course we understand and we realize that the agricultural sector is extremely important for Ukraine, and we realize that this is a huge part of our export, and we need to do everything to survive in this sector and to renovate, but a lot of our territory is now under occupation and we can't do anything or under the military action.
So, I have a question. Do you think that these unfortunate events, this war in massive relocation of displacement people, can provide some important or useful unexpected incentives to the rural development? Because I think that during the war we saw that that's actually my opinion, that the rural communities are more resilient and it's easier to survive in the village than in a big city. Yeah, and maybe what are the steps that should be taken in that regard? Thank you.
Thank you. It's so important question because actually rural communities were not so good developed before the war. I started telling my story from the reform of the decentralization of Ukraine, and actually after this reform our local communities started to have not only some responsibilities, but they started to have this finance opportunities. They some taxes collected and actually the main issue now to create this resilient local communities, like in rural area, actually, because of course, like you told, that you have more opportunities to survive in rural area, but in long perspective term, it could be unbelievable because you do not have a job, you do not have all your needs and everything else. And now in Ukraine, the view for the regional developed development changed, and now like we realize the importance of local communities, of little villages, towns, and that we do not need to support only huge cities and yeah, but the local communities too. And this system dream is the excellent example, and now we can see that during the war, the attention at megapolises, the attention for the huge cities, but we do not know about a lot of destroyed objects in rural area. And in this, using this system and in all this plan for recovery of every region, of every local communities, we could find this information, and we could understand the priority for the recovery. And it's, I think, amazing idea. And I believe that the realization of this idea will be great too.